Hey everybody, Charlie here with JC3 Cards and Collectibles. Wanted to take a minute and talk a little bit about how I got started in this card and collectible selling business. I have not been doing this very long. I started in March of 2023, so I haven't even completed my first year yet. But as I started this, I probably would have started earlier, but I had a little bit of a tendency to overthink about what I needed to get started with this, and I think others may have that predicament as well. We all have a tendency to think, oh, I can't do that, or create reasons and barriers for entry into something we want to do. Oh, I can't invest in all those startup costs and all that equipment to get going. So I wanted to take a minute and really talk about my setup right now because it's really similar to day one when I started in March. And there wasn't as many barriers to this as I thought there might be. So let's take a minute. I'll show you around my office. It's not anything fancy. I work out of my basement, a little section of my basement. So it's not going to wow you by any means, but that's not the intent. What I want to show you is you really don't need anything fancy. You can get started with just a basic setup. So let's go ahead and take a walk. So as we go around, you can see behind me, this is just really my basic basement setup. I've got a little partially finished basement that I work out of. You can see where I just came from. I just have a curtain up there over some storage areas, but it's definitely not anything fancy. I work down here the majority of my time. I don't really, go anywhere else. I may sometimes work remotely. There you can see a little couch. So the rest of the family works down here too. But the first thing you need to get started is really some inventory. So you can see a little bit of my staged inventory here. I've got a little rolling table that I put that on. I started because I had bins of baseball cards that I used to collect in the attic. They were in binders, sleeved in bins. They were in really good shape. So I finally reached a point where I said, hey, I need to do something with these. I'm not so much the collector anymore. So now what am I going to do with these? And what I decided to do was really see if I can sell some of those cards and then maybe turn that into a few cards that I really enjoy more from a PC standpoint in my personal collection. So you can see this is all staged inventory that is not listed yet. My boys help me with it sometimes. You can see that they're all in team bags for the most part. And if you were to look closer, you would see that they're organized by type of card. So sport, non-sport. Non-sport is divided up as well. So these are all wrestling cards. I've got some muscle cars here. There's some Star Wars in here. Silver Surfer here. Down here, this is all, one box is all football. I got some basketball in a separate box. And then because I started as a baseball card collector, that's two large boxes of baseball cards I still have to list. So really, number one is just having some of that inventory. So number two then is really just having the electronic means, whether it's a phone, laptop, to get on eBay, have an account, and start listing some things. So I when I'm home, I primarily work off of a laptop here, but I also go mobile and I work off of my phone a lot as well when I'm listing. So again, couple of things so far that you probably already have at home, right? And it's important to have a good workspace. You can see I've got some cards staged there that I've got some plans on. I've got a couple cards over here I'm getting ready to ship. But then that actually takes me to the next place is you need a workstation and a workspace for some listing. And if I pan over here a little bit, you can see this is really my main listing workspace. I've just got a folding table set up to my main desk, and there you can see I've got some cards staged again. These are cards that I am working on listing at the moment. These are some cards that are in the middle of being listed. I've got a box of my recent show pickups there. I've got some sleeves. And let's see, I've got a mat so I can get a nice clean background to take pictures of cards, and then getting some decent lighting is a big thing too. So you can see I've kind of got that in between a couple of different lights. But I take pictures of all my cards here on that mat, or if I'm traveling, I use a little very mobile sheet of paper. So this is a bright white sheet of paper with on this other side, stuck on that is some material from my wife's Cricut machine. It's a very, very slick black background that she just put on one side. So then I have something for really dark cards. I will put them on the bright white side. For cards with a nice white border or lighter colors, I will put them on the black side, and I take pictures against that if I'm mobile. So now we've covered how to get pictures of your cards so you can take them back to your workstation, get them listed on your laptop. And then you need some storage locations. So for me, I try to store everything within arm's length of where I'm working. So you can see I've got a couple boxes of cards here. These are all listed. Everything you see in my store is listed there. Well, mostly everything. I've got a few shelved locations. You can see I do put some cards on some shelves up there, and I actually list a few of those as well. But the vast majority of the cards I have listed are in these boxes. When I list them, I typically put them in a sleeve. Some of them go in a top loader. There's a couple different ways when you're listing this too to keep track of your cards. So if we look in here, I initially started alphabetizing my cards. So a little bit of a shadow there, but you can see some of the dividers with the green tags. Those are alphabet letters, and I worked through dividers. Recently, I made a change. Let me move these cards out of the way. I made a change to a SKU system, and what I did is I went to a system of putting a custom SKU on it, and I put the date that I'm listing them on that. And that may not be exact. If I don't list enough to fill a bag in one day, I may use that same SKU for a couple days. So I'll use that until I fill the bag. So, you know, it may be one day, it may be 2 days. It may be late in the evening, and I finish up filling a bag, and I know I'm not going to fill another bag that night. I may jump ahead to the next date, but that helps me keep track of how long I've had cards listed. Because on eBay there are some tricks that you can do. We won't talk about all those right now, but there are some tricks you can do to keep your inventory fresh that will change your listing date, so you can't always keep track of it that way. So right now I have about 2,300 cards listed. Like I said, the vast majority is right here. So I'm going to take a step back then and talk about the next stage. The next stage is going to be the shipping part. So you're going to need something to create labels. A lot of people talk about thermal printers are required for labels. Not required, but preferred. I believe that is a good way to go. But this video is about, hey, what do you do when you first start out? You might not have all that stuff. I just used my home printer, and I'm still using it today. I will print 2 labels at a time on that. That, of course, then requires a good pair of scissors. So I will print 2 labels, cut them up to fit on the envelope, and then put them, make sure they're sleeved, put them in a top loader, and I've got a bunch of top loaders sitting close by as well. I like to use masking tape, and I'll put a small piece of painter's tape. I'm sorry, I said masking tape, painter's tape over the top of the card. Some people swear by painter's tape. Some people say, you know, you can just use regular masking tape. I think that's true. You can use regular masking tape as well. But then also I keep my envelopes close. So we got a number of envelopes here. You'll see another stack of them up here. They're always close. What I like to do, because I'm cutting labels and I'm not using the thermal stick-on labels, I'll take this envelope and I'll cut my label, and I've got a half a sheet here. I'll just use it as an example. So I'll take this, and then what I found early on is that the labels would move on me when I was trying to secure them. So I put just a little dab of school glue on the back of the label after I cut it. I stick it on the front of that envelope, and then what I use is packaging tape. And I will tell you, if you're going to use packaging tape, one of these tools is almost a necessity. I started without it. If you don't have any kind of dispenser, it is nearly impossible to control it well enough to be effective. If you use one of the standard dispensers, like the small little single roll tear off dispensers without the handle, that will work as well. But what I found is that larger dispenser with the larger handle really works well. Now, the last piece I want to show you is just you're going to have a place to have some shipping supplies. So I have a small little bookcase over here. I've got boxes of envelopes. I've got boxes I keep to reuse. I've got bubble wrap for some higher end cards. I've got some bubble mailers in there. Really anything I could think of possibly having. And my wife hates this one, but I really do keep a lot of those boxes to reuse. I should probably store them a little nicer for this shared family area, but I just throw them in the corner there until I need them. So that's really all I have. I've got a nice little task light over it. I do also have a scale, and I would recommend that, especially if you're going to ship anything other than singles and anything other than low-end cards that are under $20 that you can use standard envelope. If you go over $20, you now have to ship Ground Advantage or something different. And then the weight becomes more of a factor. Even with standard envelope, you have to be under 3 ounces. And for every ounce, you get charged a little bit more. So it's good to understand. But if you're selling singles most of the time, you're always going to be 1 ounce or less, unless you start getting into some really heavy relics or something like that. But it is handy to have a scale. Again, you don't have to have it. If you're pretty good at estimating some of that stuff, you can get by without it. But if you get it wrong, it's going to delay some of your shipping and irritate some of your customers, because you're going to get some extra fees brought back to you, and it's going to delay that. So one last thing is you're going to need a comfortable chair. I use a gaming chair. Nothing special about that, but if you're going to be sitting there for a lot of time working on this, you really want to have some comfortable seating. If I back up a little bit, you can see that I've got a fairly tight containment on this. Most everything's within reach. I come from a background of productivity, so I really think about layout. It may not be the prettiest, but I can sit in this chair and I can grab cards to list. I can take pictures. I can list them. I can grab them and package them for shipping out, and be ready to go with a stack of outgoing packages or eBay standard envelopes ready to go the next time I go up the stairs from my basement. And that's what I do. So really, there is little to no investment in anything that I didn't already have. I mean, there's some small things. I bought a little grading kit, so you'll see a magnifying glass there. I got a little bit of this extra lighting. I do some other things besides just selling the cards. I do a YouTube live with my friend Adam. So I've got a nice mic that I ended up purchasing as I got into this. But honestly, I had the mic before I did this as well because I also play guitar, and I needed some recording supplies for that. So as I wrap up the tour of the room, I'll bring it back over here. So as you can see, that is minimal setup. I do nothing fancy, and I have been able to build from zero selling prior to March of 2023, and having really no background, no education on what it takes to do this. And just through some friends that do it, as I mentioned, Adam before at the Dollar Box, he taught me a lot of this. There are a lot of videos on his Dollar Box channel as well that'll show you those how-tos, but I also wanted to show you really what it looked like from day one, because I have not changed a lot since day one yet. As my business grows, I will have to modify some things, but right now, I'm still able to make this work right where I'm at, and I'm going to keep that going as long as I can, because every investment you make takes away from the profits a little bit, and I would still like to grow my profits a little bit more before I really invest a lot more on this. So that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you taking a look. I enjoyed sharing it with you. Give me a like if it's your first time watching. Subscribe to the channel. This is also something new I'm doing with my YouTube channel, so I like to grow that as I go along this journey. And my goal is really just to share what I'm going through, my experiences as a new seller. There's lots of people that make content out there that are much more advanced than me, and they've been doing this a lot longer. Some of them, like Adam at the Dollar Box, look to share things. Others do not look to share that. But as Adam and I do our YouTube Live every Wednesday night, that started as an experienced seller and a novice seller talking through their experiences on this, and this is kind of a continuation of that. I want to share some of the processes, some of the tools that I use. This channel will also show some pickups I do, and eventually we'll talk about some of my sales. But for right now, I wanted to make sure I gave you a look inside of my operation and what it looks like, and show you that you can do this too. So thanks again. I hope to see you next time.